I'm worried about you.
I want my life back. I want my child back.
I need help. I know.
I was wondering, this is your third time writing a feature film. Do you think the Zach of Garden State could have wrote this film?
No, because I was so young when I wrote Garden State. I was 25 years old, and I was writing about what I felt at the time then as a young man, feeling sort of lost and not knowing what to do with my life. This is about a very different time in my life, and it's about grief and standing up after tragedy. So it was inspired by things that I lived through that I had yet to really experience as a young man.
Yeah, did the writing process help with that? Because sometimes it's tricky to go over those kind of subjects.
I think in sharing the film and seeing people relate to it and respond to it, that's been really a good feeling. Seeing people see themselves in the film and empathize with the way I felt. The community of that feels really cathartic and wonderful.
And for Florence, you've spoken about you wrote it for her, and
Yeah.
she came on board as a producer her first
Yeah.
time she's produced a movie. Did
Yeah.
that change the film at all in surprising ways for you?
Oh yeah, because Florence had really, really smart script notes. She wrote 2 songs that the character performs in the movie. Since she's a savant actress, she really was helpful in casting. When I was deciding between 2 or 3 people, she would come in and go, no, it's so clearly that person, because she has such a great eye for acting talent. In so many ways, Florence, the producer, was extraordinarily helpful.
And you've worked before with Morgan Freeman. Did that help this
Yes.
time around? Was it just a case of going in your phone and being like, hey Morgan, do you want to do
No,
another
it wasn't
film?
like that. But I didn't think he'd say yes, because the first thing we made was a big studio comedy, and this was a tiny little indie movie, and Morgan doesn't do a ton of those. So I didn't know that he would say yes, but it did help direct him, because we already had a friendship. We already had a banter. And he's intimidating. I mean, he's Morgan Freeman. So I think that I had a comfort level with him that I wouldn't have had. We already had a banter. We already had a relationship. He already trusted me from the previous film. So I think it enabled me to push him further in a way I might not have had the courage to do so if it was our first project.
Yeah, and obviously he does a voiceover. Was that voiceover already in the script, or you're like, I've got Morgan on board, like I need a voiceover?
It actually was in the script, but it's funny when Morgan comes on, the voiceover takes a whole nother level on. Yeah.
Definitely. And there's also a sort of mini Scrubs reunion, because you've got Molly Shannon playing Florence's mother in the movie. You never worked for her in that episode, but I love that My Last
I
Chance
directed that episode.
Oh, you
though.
directed? Oh,
yeah.
Amazing. So again, did that kind of prior relationship help when it came to...
Well, absolutely, because Molly is mostly known as a comedic actress. She was one of the best SNL stars ever, but she had happened so many years ago. It's actually the first episode of Scrubs I ever directed. She was the guest star, and as the guest star, she not only did comedy, but she had a dramatic arc, and so I knew when I cast her, not only is Molly hilarious, but she has quite amazing dramatic chops.
And it feels like there's an innately human thing to find humour even in darkest moments.
Yeah.
And like Scrubs did very often, this film also has the humour in between those kind of darker moments. Is it tricky to find that balance, or is it in the script, or does it come when you filming and editing? And
it's all in the script. I think it's crucial, because otherwise I find, just as a movie lover myself, if it's too maudlin, you kind of zone out. It's too much, it's too much to digest. Whereas if you pepper humor throughout, the audience has a relief. And I think that's really important. And just like in life, when you're going through really hard times and a friend or a family member says something funny and you just are so grateful for the belly laugh and you really needed it, I think that's an important thing to do in writing about material this way as well.
Yeah, great. And just finally, I think we've already touched on it, but what are you hoping audiences get from this when it comes out in cinemas later this month?
I hope that they see something from their own lives in it. This is about a particularly intense tragedy. Hopefully most people won't have experienced something like this, but I hope that they see something from their own life. Standing back up after a really tricky time. I mean, even something as universal as COVID, going through this horrible time and standing back up and starting a new chapter. I hope that people see themselves in that.